Welcome to the Open Books Podcast, where we discuss all things going on in the real estate industry, helping you take the road less traveled to real estate success, guiding you to the top 10%. I am here alongside my wonderful, amazing co-hosts, Casey Tudor and Brooke Massey. And we have a special guest here today, the one and only Eric Jones. And I'm also a co-host. The better of the three co-hosts, Curtis Haddock.
Welcome.
Good morning.
I told you guys I would get you guys first this time.
Hey, will we get actual sponsorship on Prelude Coffee now?
We'll take it up with one of
This
the
guy
owners.
over
I mean,
here.
I'm just saying.
See what we can do.
I'm just saying. We got an extra special guest.
That's right,
He's not
that's
just
right.
a processor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We-
if Prelude is gonna sponsor us, then why is there a McDonald's cup in here?
Because I didn't get the memo.
Let's quit giving shout outs to brands for no reason, you know?
Well, she did it on her own because
Yeah, it's in the picture.
it's in
No,
the
I'm
picture.
letting them see they don't know where I got
They know
this
what
from.
that is.
They don't know.
Eric, I'm going to need you to just make sure you track your sales from this day on to see how the spike
Okay. Yeah.
in revenue
All right. So
from today on.
absolutely.
And then that way you'll know, like, we really need to be sponsoring.
Watch
Right,
this
yeah.
week. It'd be like a decline because it's like 100-degree weather.
Right.
Actually, no, this is great. I think it's supposed to be cool next week. So
Yeah, more coffee orders.
Eric.
It's totally the podcast.
Eric, can you tell us why you're here?
I'm here to speak about processing real estate transactions.
Okay.
Ooh.
Very important topic and an interesting topic because a lot of people, I think a lot of agents don't understand
What it
how
is.
valuable having a processor or transaction coordinator, however you want to call it, how valuable it is.
I agree, and I think a lot of times they do it because I always call it like I don't know what I call it. I need a name for it, but maybe y'all can help me with this. But it's basically the type of person that will fight tooth and nail over $200 on a deal instead of just letting it go and moving on with their life. I feel like there's a lot of agents out there like, why the heck would I spend $250 or $300 on something I could do myself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
I'm
well,
fully capable of doing it. I have to admit, I was that agent at one point, and it was when I was at a brokerage where they kind of forced it, and then I was doing my own personal deal, and I got special permission to waive the fee
Oh, you're special.
so that, and then I had to process it myself. Well, in the middle of that transaction, I learned really quickly, like, this is not,
Terrible.
It's terrible, and it's not worth me. It is not worth. Time is money, and I spent more than the few $100s in time trying to process the deal than I would have spent taking it out of my commission.
Because it's such a nuisance. It's just, and that's what I always talk about in real estate. There's just so much stuff to do, and there's so many tasks that you can do, and it's very easy to get lost in those tasks and make you feel like you're productive, but then you're not productive at all, and then all of a sudden your closings happen, and now you have no money coming in after that.
Well, so Eric, you see transactions on a daily basis, and you
Yes.
deal with all sorts of agents. What would you say? How important is it, based on what you see, like, when you're auditing paperwork and processing transactions? Would you say the majority of agents really need a transaction coordinator, or are most agents pretty good at their paperwork?
or are you just enabling them?
Well, we'll let you answer.
I would say that most of them, yes, absolutely do need a transaction coordinator. But even the ones that are good at their paperwork, that do get things done on time, like yourself, it's
me.
great. Or Brooke, yeah, absolutely. It's great to have an extra eye to be looking at your contract documents. I mean, even if you're confident in yourself and your own abilities and you being able to look at it and maybe you've been doing it for many years and you know exactly what you're looking at, it's still so easy to just overlook one thing and potentially cost your client something,
Oh, gosh, yes. Because this is a fast industry.
Well,
like,
it's an industry distraction.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's like you can focus on some and then all of a sudden 3 other things pop up and you got to take care of them right then and there.
Right.
So I'm pretty anal about my paperwork because I understand that, but there's tons of times that I just miss stuff. And then Eric, when you process it, I'm like, well, damn, that was like a very easy one that I know, but I missed it.
I thought you were going to get that approval, and all of a sudden it's like, return to agent. I pride myself on getting that approval.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. Every time I see it, I'm like, dang it.
If I get a
Did
return
Jennifer
to
do this
agent,
paperwork?
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I just take advantage of you, Eric. I just let you do it all for me. I'm like, I'll just leave all this blank on purpose.
Oh, my God.
You're the
No,
worst.
I don't do
You
that.
are the worst.
I don't do that.
If that's what you do.
Well, because it's like, what happens is it's like you have no business for a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're putting like 4 or 5 houses under contract within a week.
Yeah,
and it's
or a
like,
day.
Well,
yeah,
what about the new agents who like this is their first deal, or they only do one deal every couple of months? Like,
yeah, they need it.
they still.
I think it helped me learn,
Yeah.
honestly, because like there's so much to learn as a new agent, and I just remember going through everything, and then my processor processed it, and I was like, oh,
Well, and
I missed X, Y, and Z.
What you missed.
Yes.
Like, how did I miss it? Why did I miss it? Why is that important?
yes.
And look at it this way. Eric actually works for me for free a lot because the deal that's busting today, he ain't getting paid on
That's right. Yeah.
because it's busting, and there's already considerable amount of work that's went into it.
Yeah. Right.
So like, there's a lot to be said about all of that. I mean, because most agents just want to go hire like a full-time assistant,
Yeah.
but then they may not always be able to pay them, and then they got to let them go, or they're not really good at their job because this is their first realtor they're ever going to go to work for.
Yes.
And then they've got to build these processes out and still pay them regardless. Like, man, just have a transaction fee.
So back to backtrack that to what Brooke said. I believe it was Brooke who said this. That's how I sell this to clients. Is actually, I think Eric first said it about having a second set of eyes look over your paperwork and your documents, because we are all human. You can be the absolute best paperworker in real estate, right?
Yes.
And still miss stuff. And the last thing that you want as an agent is to go to your client and say, by the way, we're not closing on time because I missed something. By the way, I'm so sorry, but you have to give away, XYZ, or I, cost you $1,000 because I failed to do XYZ.
You didn't get this addendum signed, and it's $1,000 from the TRR.
Yeah.
There went $1,000.
Or you as the agent has to eat it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And most of the time, that is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that is another great way to learn.
Oh, yes.
And you won't do it again. But having that second set of eyes, it allows me to do 2 things. It allows me to let my client know that it's not just me looking over everything and moving things forward. I have a team behind me helping me push the deal forward, communicate with third parties, with appraisers, inspectors. I guess not really communicate with appraisers, but upload the appraisal and communicate it to our clients and
there's
all that stuff. But then the second thing that it allows me to do is it allows me to go get more deals. It allows me to not focus
That's
on
your job.
paperwork.
Well, our business is 100% relational, and Eric is all transactional. So he's just a number. No, I'm kidding. but it does help divide that line a little bit, because then you can be out there representing them and helping them solve problems and helping them wade through their unrealistic expectations and emotions, and you let Eric get their social security number. So it makes it a lot easier.
I mean, I would say Eric doesn't even need the Social Security. He's going to tell them to send it to the lender who needs it.
Right.
Oh,
Title.
yeah. Usually you have title. I'm like, you
Yeah.
call title directly and you give them this information.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I don't want it. I don't want to have any responsibility with social security numbers.
But no, what I was going to say is like kind of adding to you. There's so many roles and keys to this because I forget somebody said like there's like how many people are on one transaction? It's like an insane amount, like 50 to 150 or something like that. People touch the transaction.
It's around 50 hands, like 50 pairs of hands, sets of hands,
like different people
that touched one transaction between realtor, lender, and lender's admin team, title and title's admin team, inspector, the appraiser. I mean, between all of it, you're averaging about 50 hands per deal.
And it takes one person.
And if one person does mess it up, then out of those 50 people, there's one person to take the blame for it. And we all know who that one person is, right?
It's always title or the lender.
It's the well,
it's always the realtor.
That's what I say. Oh, it was the lender who messed that up. No, it's the realtor.
Hey, you can blame me if I'm not around. Like if you can pass off blame, make things smoother and go through. Like blame me all day. I don't.
No, don't do it. That's how you get 1-star reviews.
Well, I don't know anything about 1-star reviews.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. We should be taking ownership of it anyways because we are the center of the transaction.
We're the main communicator or whatever, and that's why I need a processor to help me keep all these parties involved. So if I have multiple deals going at once, then I mean it could be all over the place. Or I'm on the run and I call Eric and I'm like, Eric, what is title saying? And we talk about it and maybe he helps me with an addendum or whatever it may be, and we just move on.
Yeah.
And you can't blame us too. So there you go. As an agent, if you need to throw someone under the bus,
I don't.
I'm here.
I don't really throw unless they blatantly did it and it is their fault. I don't blame.
Sure.
Even still,
well,
I wouldn't throw them because we hired them, and we're telling them to trust their coordinators. Now, to the client.
Oh, I wouldn't do it to my team. I guess let me clarify.
Well, to the team and the client, I'm gonna take ownership, but then I might have words with the coordinator.
Right. Yeah. No, if it was that specific, but I mean like. If there's a deal and they're not my relationship and they're just dumb.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only time that I would maybe deflect blame is if we're not using one of my recommendations. If the client was adamant about their lender or...
Well, and I don't just do it to do it. Like, there's facts behind it, too. Yeah. Like, here's what happened, X, Y, and Z. This person didn't do this, and now we're here.
I mean, a lot of times it's just something you can't control. Oh, it just things happen, and
that's
the hard part is when the clients this doesn't have anything about do transaction, but coordinating. But it's like people just aren't always that flexible, So when when you first meet a client, it's like there are going to be things that come up. And like really how we handle it is going to get us through the finish line or not. Yeah. It's like busting a deal over $200 when you're going to turn around, put the house back on the market and make another mortgage payment.
Yes.
But those are the things as realtors that we are dealing with.
Well, and that's why I like to control as much as I can anyways, without stressing myself out. I'm talking about putting systems and stuff in place. So, and one of those systems would be transaction processing. So that way I can control some of the messiness because it is... I mean, it's not just real estate agents. Everyone's all over the place sometimes.
It's interesting that you phrase it that way because you're controlling as much of it as you can so that you can give up the control.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of people will not hire a coordinator, not just because of money, but because they cannot give up the control. They lack the trust in another human being to be able to do a job that represents them and will either make them look good or look bad to their client. The last thing that they want is for something to go wrong and they had no control over it.
Right, which is interesting. That's an interesting thought process because the way I think about it is I could sell, in a good year, big range, but 30 to 50 houses, and Eric's probably doing that every month. Why would I think that even being in this 10 years, why would I be better than someone that's like their main job?
Yes. No, I love that you said that because I was going to bring that up. Like a top producer sells 50 to 60 homes a year. And I mean, that sounds like it is a lot, but at the same time, it's not.
A good coordinator is doing that on a monthly basis minimum.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And that's like they see all the same stuff. That's what they're in, right? Just like as a real estate agent, our main job is to negotiate and talk with the clients and make their relationships. And that's what we do every single day. And that's what we're good at.
Yeah.
And I think there's two kinds of coordinators. There's Eric and then there's everyone else. No, but what I mean by that is Eric's processes are built and every deal that comes in is treated the same.
Yeah.
And he came into real estate being a transaction coordinator, buying into those systems and those processes. Whereas the other coordinators in the industry are realtors who could not make it. They could not go out and get enough clients to make a living. So they decided,
And then they're
you
like,
know what
I
I'll
like
do?
paperwork,
I'll,
which is fine.
I'll coordinate. That is fine. However, and they might be great at it, but I would say most of all, if they're just like an independent person going out and trying to get different business, they're going to treat people differently based on who they are and what kind of income they bring in. And because I know someone who is doing processing for a big time agent, and then he took this process and said, yeah, I sell 10 houses a year, whatever. And she's like, yeah, I'll take you on. And then, one time he almost got to closing and she hadn't even touched the file yet because she was too busy with one of the top producers in the state, taking care of that person because that person's paying a majority of the bills.
Yeah.
That's important. It's important who you hire.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
So hire Eric.
Please, yes.
I thought you were looking at
Wow.
I was like,
That's the first time that no one had anything to say
I know,
immediately.
Well, we had a script, but we're all we've talked about everything.
Have we
Yeah.
talked about different things, different parts about it?
Well, I could just say, again, for
How about-
agents out there.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. If you'd like to.
no.
go ahead.
Eric, I want to hear from you.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of like what we were saying earlier. I mean, there's something for everybody, whether you're, this is going to be your first deal or your 100th deal. Like Brooke was saying earlier, it's a great way to learn if you have a transaction coordinator because while you're submitting all those documents, you may not know what you need or what you missed. We can help walk you through that. We do, while it is transactional, as Casey said, I do try and be relational and I try and help educate the agents as we go. I see that as kind of part of my job as well, to help educate them. It's only going to make my job easier, right? If they know what they're doing. And then again, if it's your 100th deal or you're a top producer, it's great to just have that extra set of eyes to look over things and make sure that everything is as it needs to be or turned in or gets to whoever it needs to get to. So to me, in a way, it's almost like insurance, a cheap form of insurance, just to have that extra set of eyes and to make sure that everything's getting done that needs to be done. And then again, for the newer agents, it's a great way to learn and someone to communicate with. If you don't have a mentor or someone else you can reach out to, we can at least provide some information for you.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
it's not just you as an agent too. It's for your clients. So I go tell my clients all the time, hey, you're going to get an email from Eric. He is my processor. He's there. He's an extra set of eyes. He's going to send communication to you. So watch out for his emails. If there's something you need and you can't get a hold of me right away and it's pertaining to title or whatever, you can go ahead and reach out to him if you need to, right? It's part of a team and it makes me look better and allows me to go sell more real estate at that point. Because then it's like, oh, it's Brooke and she has a processor.
Yeah.
So, because
Like I said, it's
a lot of
team
people,
behind you.
if you have, like right now I have like 8 houses under contract. If I could get 1 to 3 or more emails from title almost every day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like I get that dopamine fix when I see the email. I'm like, what is that? Forward to Eric.
Or if it's
And I'm-
Or
And
Eric's
I'm-
already on there
and
and
I'm
he
done
said
with it.
delete.
Yeah, I hit delete, yeah.
Delete it.
I don't either. Just kidding. I read it and I'm like, all right, good job,
It's
Eric. You
really-
did well.
I don't
you did
even
well.
read it.
I don't either.
If his name is on it,
I don't
like
either.
his name, then I don't even read it.
I didn't want to admit that on
And if
camera,
you're-
but that's okay.
Well, but
that's the
That's the
freedom.
beauty,
That's
yes.
the freedom of it.
that's your team, and it's I rely on everyone to do their job, because I am not a micromanager, nor do I ever want to be. And so like, if there's an issue with title commitment, don't just send me the damn title commitment and make me read the whole thing. Say, hey, there's an issue. Like, first thing in the email, hey, there's an issue with title commitment.
Yeah.
And here's what we need from you.
Yes, and that's what I need to see. If I don't see that, I'm forwarding it. And then if there was a problem and I miss it, then I'm sorry. Like, again, I can't micromanage and I can't read every single little thing that we're hiring other people to do.
The beautiful thing about Stacks is that it's not even just Eric, it's a team. And so you have several people that are involved in processing, and you are, to Casey's point, you are not having to pay someone a salary. You're not having to pay employee and employer taxes, and you're not having to
you pay them on the deal.
It's on
Everyone
the deal.
gets paid when you get paid.
So if it doesn't close, then you don't pay anything. So it's based on the performance of that transaction, and it's like that because we want agents to continue to send deals and not have to worry about losing money on a deal that doesn't close because it's not necessarily the agent's fault. We want all of those future deals. So if you are an agent out there that wants to look into processing transactions, I would highly consider reaching out to Stacks Processing.
I agree. And to add to that, it's like if Stacks gets busier and busier, then we hire more people, and it's like, so that way you're not just hiring one solo person who's trying to do this on the side and all of a sudden they're overwhelmed and drop the ball.
Yeah. How many?
And you're not, and we're not responsible for that as the agents. Stacks would do that.
Right.
How many transactions do you say you probably process in a day, Eric?
A day?
Yeah.
Like how many files? How many
Or
files?
like
do you
how
think
many
you
do you
touch?
think you could handle before you're like, okay, guys, you need to hire somebody else?
Just myself?
Yeah.
Or okay. Oh goodness. 15 to 20
In a day?
Yeah, no, that may not be all contracts, but us having to rework stuff or new title commitments coming in or whatever it may be, revisiting all those, probably 15 to 20. But thankfully, we do have a team, like Curtis said earlier, and so we were able to split that work amongst us and make sure that everything's getting done. So,
what's your favorite thing about coordinating a transaction?
When it's over.
Dude, you didn't even hesitate.
It's
Crazy.
What's probably the biggest thing that you've seen, Eric, that maybe we haven't talked about transaction processing?
I think I know what the most frustrating thing is.
What's that?
I'm just gonna take a wild stab at this. It's gonna be like how it's got to be frustrating, the very simple tasks of a contract that agents don't do on a consistent basis, like literally super important parts of the contract, like forgetting to fill in the price. Something like as important as that. Like on a listing agreement, let's say, it's like, well, what are you listing it for? You didn't even put the price in here, and yet you have a signed listing agreement. How does the agent miss that, and how does the seller miss that?
Right.
Like that just means that they're just signing away, and a lot of clients do that. They're trusting you as the agent to do your job, and if you're missing little things like that, then that's a problem, and you desperately need to hire a coordinator. If you probably don't even know if you've ever missed stuff like that if you've never had a coordinator tell you, But I would think that's got to be super frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry.
Yeah, some of that basic stuff.
It's only Casey's file.
Sorry, not sorry.
No, it's
everybody.
It's a lot.
For the most part.
It's a lot of agents. That don't.
And it can happen, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter how experienced you are as an agent.
Right.
It can happen to everybody. And that does happen sometimes. Some of our most experienced agents that we work with, they may miss something here or there. And again, that's, it's going to happen. From time to time.
I admit it.
The issue with being,
Part of it.
the hard part about being a realtor in general is you have field work and office work.
Yes.
And you don't always get to control when those times happen.
No.
And so like
Not at all.
again, that's why you need someone who can sit at a desk during the day to handle all that incoming stuff. Because like today I'm driving to Guthrie, which I know all of our fans in New York City don't know where that is, but it's a small town 45 minutes away from here, and it's going to be a lot of driving today. you know, and so I'm only going to be able to catch up on stuff in between showings, at the showings, or when I get home.
Oh yeah, and it's hard when you get home because then that's your family time and
your
the time you
clients-
need to recharge.
Even
and
your family, your clients and your family really have no idea
No.
what that all looks like. That's why when your clients or your recruits are like, hey, I need help now, and it's like 10 minutes later, they don't know why you haven't got back. Like, what else could you have possibly been doing when I called you?
Well, yeah.
It's like, I mean, do you want me to type out a list?
Yeah, I'm like, because sometimes you probably don't know what I was actually doing at that moment.
Right.
You
That
know?
does happen, but I do think that for the most part, clients are understanding that you have multiple clients.
And if they're not, that's on them.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the hardest
It's all-
part.
It's
I
on
think,
the agent too.
or not the hardest
You
part.
gotta set expectations. With
so I had a client.
And even when you set expectations, though,
client-
people are just crazy, and so I always
no, it does happen for sure.
I always try to remind myself, I'm like, those are their emotions, not mine. I did X, Y, and Z. I set this expectation. I just need to let them have the emotion and not let it affect me.
you have to have thick skin, and you have to be willing to, put your own personal sensitivities aside.
Yeah.
But I will say, for the most part, I do think if you set proper expectations with your clients, they are very, very understanding of your schedule, of your family time. Because it takes 30 days to close most deals anyways. Like, you have plenty of time. Not that I don't think you should put things aside, but if you have another appointment, it can wait till tomorrow.
Well, sometimes it has to wait.
Right. There's just no time.
I had a client this week. It's like 11 a.m. and we get an inspection request for the following morning at 9 a.m. And she didn't have, or her AC went out, but she knew what it was because her husband knows how to work on that stuff. It was like a capacitor or something. Well, she freaked out because she thought they were going to walk into the house and realize the AC and then blah, blah, blah. So she calls me like 4 times in a row. She texts me, says, you need to call me immediately. This is important. Blah, 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 blah. And then kept calling me. And I basically, when I called her, she's like, what the is going on? And I'm like, she's like, what are they trying to do tomorrow? I'm like, look, they're just wanting to come in and measure for some furniture that they're ordering. And she's like, I thought they were going to come in and do this and that. And I'm like, okay. I was like, and by the way, I was at the pool with my kids for 2 hours. I cannot answer my phone whenever my kids are in a pool.
Yeah.
And my phone is up on the chair. I was like, you got to give me time to get back with you. And she's like, and then after she's like, I know, I'm really sorry. I just really freaked out.
Well, they give their cards away, so you know that they're not going to not sign at closing.
Yeah.
She wants that thing to
This is the same person that said she won't close if she has to pay the $500 HOA transfer.
It normally is
Yeah.
the same type of person because it's emotions, and the people who wear their emotions on their sleeve, they're the ones who are going to respond that way.
And you just have to.
Happens.
I've gotten better at it. It's like, okay, she's responding emotionally.
Yeah,
this isn't really who she is.
Let it work their way out, because I've had people cuss me up and down, and then once everyone signs, they're like, I'm so sorry, like, I love you so much, and thank you for everything that you did, you were amazing. And I thought they hated me.
Yeah.
And then they're like, you should come over for a barbecue, and we're gonna invite you over for family dinner. And
I kind of screwed this up. That's funny that you say that, because in the beginning I had some friends of mine, sort of friends. They were from the salon when I was barbering. But anyways, he was such a jerk through the whole transaction. Now, this was when I first started, so looking back, it was all normal. Well, I was more friends with her because she worked at the salon.
Okay.
There's her husband, who's an eye doctor, and he just anyways.
And he was the one who handled most of the transaction.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he was just, a bulldog and thought he was better than he was. And then after we closed, he goes, hey, man, he goes, you want to go out for a beer sometime? And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, F you.
Yeah.
Like, you're the last person I'd ever have a beer with. But now looking back, it's like, I should have had a beer with him.
Yeah.
Because
Way to go.
because like they're probably going to buy a bigger house because he's a doctor.
Yeah. That's why.
I do still follow up with him though, and they're in my system, but
Okay, they'll call you.
Do they still live in that same house?
they do.
So they haven't bought a bigger house yet.
Well, they bought a big house, but they were building it when I sold their other house. So, anyways,
That happens a lot.
it should be about time though.
Don't know.
Right.
Well, anything else to discuss on Transaction Coordination Podcast Day?
Eric?
The only thing I'd say is that, we can provide a service for everybody. We talked about what we can offer, but we can be as involved or not involved as much as you want us to be. Right. So, if you just want us to audit the paperwork and review that, but not reach out to title, not reach out to lender, not reach out to your clients, we can do that. We could do, whatever you want. If you want to be the face of it, and that's fine, you are anyways. But if you just want us to kind of be that extra eyes, set of eyes on things, we can do that. But again, we can do the full service where we're trying to basically, run everything on the back end. So
I love that, because if you're out there and if you're thinking about a transaction processor, make sure you find someone that has systems and processes already in place and they're reputable. And then you can also, like he said, customize it a little bit, because it's not a one size fit all for everyone's business. Sometimes there's a certain client that is just very particular. And so, but you still want to use your processor to help you, but customize it a little bit. Maybe there's certain things that they don't do.
To Casey's point, it matters who you hire. It really makes a difference. And I have seen and worked with several transaction coordinators, whether they are on my side or people that are on the other side.
Oh gosh, you really see how good or bad they are,
and it can make or break a deal. It can, and it's your reputation, and I think that's why a lot of people hesitate sometimes.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah, and so you're giving up some control. You're putting your own image on the line with other realtors, with your client, with with your vendors, and so it matters. And there are no better transaction coordinators than Stacks Processing, in my opinion, from what I have dealt with. And so I feel like if you have ever considered it, and if it's a control thing, if it's a price thing, whatever it is, give them a shot on one deal and see how it changes your entire perspective on transaction coordinating.
I agree. And I also, at our brokerage, we require everyone to use Stacks, because we want people to we want consistency. We don't want to have 200 agents with 30 different random processors doing 30 different things.
Yeah.
And so I know that doesn't work for every brokerage, but for us, it just gives you a peace of mind. And if you have one problem with the file, you go to Eric or Micah. And it's like, and then that processor is going to do what they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You don't know that with the other ones.
Don't be that agent too that hires a coordinator and then still does all the work. There are agents that will still they'll process everything because they cannot give up that control. So if you're going to try it out, really try it out. Don't touch anything. Now make sure you set expectations and from your processor what is your responsibility and what is their responsibility, because if you have responsibilities, because your responsibilities don't just go away, right? There are still things that you need to pay attention to as a realtor, especially if you're not communicating effectively, which is one thing that's always been a challenge. Like we talk about timelines all the time. Like our agents are still responsible for time. They'll get reminders, but we know timelines change during the course of a transaction. You submit your TRR, or depending on where you are in the country, your repair list. That starts another timeline and another clock. If you don't communicate with your processor, hey, I just submitted this, or I just turned this into the other agent. Well, then how can they be responsible for making sure you get that negotiated in time?
Or a settlement statement.
Like if your commission is supposed to be a certain amount, I get shocked at how some agents don't look at a settlement statement to make sure that they're getting paid what they're supposed to get paid. But that's just part of it,
Yeah, that's the most important part at the very end.
Because you might change something at the end too. I've had to hire trash services, and I've had to, just for cleanup, we've had to fix and repair holes in walls, fill in dirt for foundations. We had to do all sorts of things right at closing.
Or escrow $40,000 for a roof.
Yeah. And so
I want to make sure that's on there.
If you're doing that, or let's say that some vendors allow you to push an invoice to closing. again, if you're not communicating those things, you need to make sure that the settlement statement is accurate so that you don't get hit with a surprise, later on down the road. But there are still agent responsibilities, and that's with whoever you use. Just make sure you understand what they are when you hire someone, because if you don't and you're expecting the coordinator to do it, then that's when problems can come up.
Yeah. Eric at stacksprocessing.com.
That's right.
STAX.
That's funny.
All right, guys, as we come to an end, I want to say thank you for your time and for watching. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments. And, like, subscribe, click the bell, all those things.
Ding, ding, ding.
And we'll see you guys on the next one. I'm Casey Tudor. This is Brooke Massey, Curtis Haddock, and Eric the Mother Jones.